I am so excited that we are going to tackle a topic today that I think comes up for a lot of people. Is it possible to build this type of business without tapping into your warm market? And we have a special guest to talk to us about that today. I'm so excited to have Angela McKay with us, and I'm going to read Angela's bio. Angela McKay is a busy mom with 7 kids and a self-made millionaire. She is a business and mindset coach, podcaster, and has been in direct sales and network marketing for 11 years. Angela's life is chaotic, but lots of fun, raising 7 kids while running a global organization from home. She says her secret weapons for success are coffee, Post-it notes, and personal development books. I bet. One of her favorite things about network marketing is that it's given her the gift of never having to miss those mom moments and the ability to fulfill her old-fashioned values of having dinner together every night. I love that. Her mission is to help give families the freedom to design a life with those kinds of moments too. Angela mentors mompreneurs across the globe and teaches them to build a career while never missing out on special moments. Angela's husband has been working with her in the business for over 10 years. She has used social media to grow 98% of her organization. She coaches and trains others on how to utilize a personal brand to help build a home-based business. Yay! I'm so excited to hear more about this. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, when I first got started in this business about 15 years ago, people would say this is a belly-to-belly business. And there was this kind of good old boy way of looking at network marketing, I call it. And, it was believed at that point that you had to do the business in person. And of course, that was before, the internet really blossomed and before the pandemic and all kinds of things. The world has changed. But I just love this. I love this topic because I think it will speak to a lot of people. I think there are some people, I know I've encountered this where somebody has said they don't want to really talk to their family and friends about the business, or there may be people that have exhausted that resource. I think one of the things I like to say is that I think too many people talk to too few people too many times. And I think that can happen to us with our warm market. So I would love to know more for those that don't want to approach their warm market or have exhausted that opportunity. Where does one begin with this kind of approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the social media marketing is like the big question mark in marketing, but especially over the last year, we've all kind of pivoted online because that's how we connect because we're socially distant, right? And so I felt blessed because this is kind of my approach to business. Since I was a busy mom, I wanted to escape the concepts of this industry of having to jump in your car, drive across town or drive across the state, get in a hotel room or a living room and do a meeting. And although those techniques worked so much, I saw social media as just a way to save time and have a reach beyond where my car could go. And that's kind of how I grew my global organization, was not because I had friends sitting all over the world, but social media became a place where I could connect with people, build relationships, and then have conversations about business. And so it's been pretty exciting. I always say there's not really a secret method. It's really high tech to high touch. And by what I mean by that is we use high tech to find people that we wouldn't naturally know in our lives. And then we can go to high touch, which might be a Zoom meeting like right now or a conversation on the phone. And so using that kind of way of communicating has been huge for my business.
So I just have to kind of add on to that, because you kind of say that as if it's like no big deal, just meet people that you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me is like, whoa, how the heck do you do that?
Sure. I think, yeah, first everyone wants to know the how. And I say a lot of times it's using your voice and using what you would typically talk to, we identify as our warm market, our friends and family and people we see in our life, and start to create conversations online. And really, that starts by creating content of value. I always tell people if you're going to post something, one, it needs to bring you joy and it needs to serve others. And so, whether it's education or about a product or service that you represent, or it's just some inspiration, which the whole world needs right now, you're able to start to connect with like minded people because they naturally gravitate to those posts. And so, that's been my approach since day one is one, when I post something, I'm asking what is my goal with this? What is my message? What am I hoping my audience connects with? And more importantly, who is my audience? And so by learning how to do that, I found the right people in the big world of social media, and have been able to start to really connect with people that I wouldn't have known otherwise.
So you're not posting then just on your own timeline. I mean, really, I'm going to ask some pretty dumb questions because
Oh, go for
I
it.
don't, this is a new world to me, but so you are not just posting on your own timeline. How, because if I just post on my timeline, only my friends see it, right?
Right.
So how are you getting new people to see what you're about? Or does that maybe have to do with a brand type of thing?
No, that's a great question. And I always say, think of social media as like a big map, and there's like little cities or little groups, right, of people that have similar interests. And especially to people like myself in direct sales, that's part of me, but that's not entirely me. I'm a mom. I love to travel. I love to decorate. I love to cook. So I have different parts of me, besides my company or my business. And so I go off. I always say, get out of the puddle of your own profile. Because if you stand there and post, like you said, you're just talking to the people that are already in that space in your little city. And so you want to go out and you want to start to look for people in other places. And so I love groups. That's really where I've done most of my connection points. And so I find common interest groups to go in. And I don't ever pitch my business. I'm not that person. No one really likes that person, right? But I go
Exactly.
in and I look for people that are like me, my natural audience, my niche, and I connect with them. And then hopefully we connect on a personal level and they come into my profile and they start to see those value posts that I'm doing. And we just continue to build that kind of high tech to high touch relationship. And I always say, if it feels right, we'll have the business conversation. So it's a process. It's not like speed dating. It takes time, but it's amazing how well you can find the right people if you know how to approach it.
I love the high tech to high touch. That's great.
Yeah. So
Yes, yes. Well, I find, and what you touched on, Angela, is I find that one of the things that's so hard is it was for me, and I find it is for other people to really identify what is their niche. Who are they? A lot of times we're so excited about the business and the products that we're representing that we just want to go get everyone and we want to speak to everyone. And I know that you've really identified and perfected that trying to address everyone is heard by no one, and that you really have to brand yourself. So talk a little bit, share a little bit about how does someone determine or create the best brand for themselves? What are some of the components in your opinion?
sure. Well, getting to your niche or your ideal client, I always say the fastest way I could do this today without going into a training is to say, look in the mirror, like look at who you are, because like attracts like. And so as a woman like myself, I'm 45. I'll be transparent there. I'm a mom of seven. And so my natural audience is wrapped around that age group, that demographic, that interest. And then like I said to Janine, find those special interests. What makes me me? What is my belief system? And start to really identify that, knowing that one, what you post is going to attract those people. And if you can identify that and that becomes your voice, all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I'm connecting with people that just feel like a friend because that's the connection point. And so when I was and early in my career, I didn't have a brand and I did it like all wrong. And I think that's the beauty of the process, right? We can grow from that. And I think it was at about 40, I literally had like a brand ID crisis. Like, who am I? Like, what is my goal with my brand and my business? And I worked through some of my brand identity, and I pulled through my story, and I had to outwardly work with someone to kind of hear, because sometimes it's just white noise to us as we think through it and process it. And so my brand, the Laundry Room Diaries, came out because it was a very significant part of my story, and what my mission is, and everything. And so it was like just taking that moment to process something that I didn't even see as part of me, became exactly what was missing. And so I think it's really important, if you're working on your brand, to one, identify yourself, but then work with someone, because their eyes, through fresh eyes, can see things completely different. And I think by doing so, you start to really have that clear focus on who your message is going to. And that's where authentically you can translate things to a business transaction, or locking arms and growing a business with someone.
Wow, I love that. Very interesting. So there's a book that I love called Best Worst First. And it's a book that a fellow network marketer, a couple of them, wrote about what's the best thing to do, what's the worst thing to do, and what's the first thing you should do when you get into network marketing. I like to ask you kind of the same thing about doing social media marketing, because I think there's a lot of people that do it wrong. And so I'd like to see more people in network marketing do it right. So what's the best thing to do, the worst thing to do, and the first thing somebody should do?
That's a good question. I love that. Well, I think the best thing to do is have a clear goal in mind. I think with anything, you have to know what is it that you're wanting to achieve, whether that be communication about your business, meeting people. You've got to have some sort of goal when you're getting on, because we all know social media has no basement. It's a scroll hole. And so I'm very, very intentional with what I do on social media. That way I get things done and I'm not distracted. I think the worst thing you can do is opposite of that, is not have a plan and be inconsistent. And I did that for a while in my career, where I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who my niche was. I didn't know really what I wanted to carry as far as my message. And so I did it like all wrong at first. And then what was it? The first thing you should do? Was that the last
Yeah,
part of that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think the first thing you should do is identify yourself. Like, who are you? Who do you represent? What is the benefits of you that just kind of takes you outside of the crowd? And in direct sales, as a marketer, there's a lot of people in my company. What makes someone want to link arms with me? And it's putting those attributes that are my personality, my styles, my beliefs. And that's really what your brand is. It's kind of separating you from the crowd and saying, this is my person. I identify with her, I want to work with her. And that's very important to do early on.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what are some other important things that you would want someone to know that is choosing to build through social media?
Yeah, I always say it's like finding that significant other. You can't speed date your way to a happily ever after. I mean, maybe if you can, but most of the time that doesn't happen. Anything great takes time. And so you have to understand that is probably 20% of your business, and 80% is still high touch, right? Like, you're still talking to people. And so often people think social media is their business, and instead it's the tool of the business. And when I see marketers get lopsided on that, that's where frustration creeps in. That's where they get stuck, or they kind of throw in the towel and say, this isn't for me. And usually it's a correction of, one, it's a tool, it's not your business. And two, it takes time, and understanding that it takes time, and it's not overnight success. And if someone's painted that picture of overnight success, I always say run, because that's a myth. And you're gonna grow with it and learn. It's like anything else.
So
And
Oh, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I was going to ask about what advantages. You mentioned a little bit of it at the beginning, but what are some of the advantages that you've identified in building this way?
I've been able to build a global team, and that's been amazing to be able to meet people and entrepreneurs that are like myself, but sit in different parts of the globe. And as an entrepreneur, we know that diversification is so important. I always say I could have, I could be in one city and have my entire organization in one city, and I live in the Midwest, so I guess like a tornado could come through. And what happens to my business? And it really felt so relevant this year in 2020, although the world was globally affected by COVID. Different spaces had different timings of those challenges. And so by building a global team, my business has grown over the course of 2020 because I've been so diverse as far as my recruitment. So unless you're just very well connected in the world. I'm a mom of 7, so I didn't have friends all over the world, but I found a way to make them, and that's been the biggest probably impact in my business is building a global organization besides a local organization.
So going to the opposite stream, are there any disadvantages? What are the disadvantages of
Yeah.
this kind of business?
But yeah, I think that the hardest part with building globally is that you really have to pivot a lot. Like I have teams I can't talk to because I'm not a linguist, I guess I could jump on the Rosetta Stone and learn all these, but I've identified leadership spaces where I could talk to and translate. Which to me, honestly, when I started, I never even thought of that as a challenge in my life. I never dreamt that I would have a global team and I'd have hundreds of people on my team I couldn't speak to because of a language barrier. But technology has helped us, and it's just learning how to identify spaces to kind of pivot and say, okay, let's find who we can talk to and let's source them as the leader and help them, lead the team and be the translator, I guess. So that's been challenging. And then I think sometimes that, when you're dealing with a global team, we come from different cultures. Learning different value systems, cultures and beliefs, and what motivates someone has been so intriguing to me to sit here and have really great conversations with women and men, and to understand culturally, this is what they value, and it's helped me become more broad as a leader and understanding that instead of thinking oh, you get into business because you want to make money or have time. It's just so much more, and so I've learned so much in the process.
Wow. I love the way you overcome I would think the language barrier would be a deal breaker. So good for you.
Challenging, but yeah, we've pivoted really well with that, and I think it's exciting to be wow, we have people in our organization that we can do this too, or but there's not that language communication, but there's other ways to communicate beyond language.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep. Yeah.
So I would think, just really kind of thinking about this, I would think that systems would be really important, and having maybe a system or an automated way or something for people to even learn about the business and then to get started. So maybe talk about that aspect of it, and what you need to have in place with regards to that.
Oh yeah, I believe systems make or break an entrepreneur in this industry, and I think you need a system for everything, from the moment a system and how you find the people to what you say when you find them to I want to do this. What's the system when they join? And it's usually a lack of systems. If you see organizations that struggle from I want to do it to actually doing it. And so I've worked really hard. And like I said, over the last 11 years, I've learned a lot. And the great thing about that is it's when you create systems, you're creating duplication. And the last thing I wanted to do was come in and be a leader. I wanted to build leadership. I wanted to be a leader amongst leaders, and systems are how you empower people. So we have it from every moment, from a moment of identifying the conversation through the entire process of building a business. And I think that's essential for any entrepreneur in this industry. If you don't have systems, you need them.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And is that part of what you, I mean, do you create systems that are specific to your business, or have you created some systems that are generic enough that can be used by other people, or?
Yeah, that's no, I do. I have definitely company specific systems, but I do coaching. I coach with other leaders. And what's great is what works with one company can really the foundation of those systems are what it's education and teaching and follow up and then action and implementation. Can't even talk today. Implementation. There we go. And teaching people to just identify those within their own company or their own organization, and understanding how do you communicate effectively, and how do you follow up on that, and you know wrapping all of that around, we can create something really great for someone that's not even in my company. So yes, it's
Wow.
kind of nice that we can kind of PowerPoint and work together even though we're not in the company. It's good to invest in helping the entire industry. I believe that wholeheartedly.
So as a closing question, we always ask this, and I think it'd be really interesting to hear your perspective as it relates to the fact that you've dealt with so many people all over the world. So what do you think is the most important factor to someone achieving financial success in network marketing, MLM, direct sales?
Yeah, I think the if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think the number one thing you can do is you have to one come in and understand that you can do it. I think the limiting beliefs are what breaks people off, and that's something from a leadership standpoint you want to work with them from the moment they start, and really help that mindset development, because it's really what happens between the ears is what makes or breaks the entrepreneur. I've seen so many great people come in and self-sabotage, and it usually comes from scar tissue of a past experience or someone saying they couldn't. And so I lean heavily into mindset coaching, because I think that's where great things happen. I think that's where people come in and they blossom and they reach their potential. So mindset 100%.
Absolutely. I just along those lines, do you have, since you do training on mindset, are there any books or anything, or what resources? Do you have anything that you really love to recommend for that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was really blessed to be mentored one on one with John Maxwell, and be coached by him. And that was one of like the most profound points of my career. Someone I listened to, read, and absorbed. And I always say, find one or two people that you really just, it resonates with you. They speak to you. And if you don't read, get the audiobook or listen to the podcast. I feel like don't overdo it, but you need to do it every day. It's part of your income producing activities. And so I always say 1 hour a day, most of us are in the car, you can turn something on, and what you feed your mind is really what's going to impact your paycheck. And so find someone or an author or a podcaster that resonates with you, so that you can start to pick up those little golden nuggets that they put out there. And that's all I've always been a student of the industry. I've never stopped learning. I never want to stop learning, because it's ever growing. And that would be my advice, is just be the student and always be encouraged to learn.
Yes, great. Well, and I'm excited that we have your story in the Audible and Kindle version of the Flip Flop CEO now. So
Yes.
I love it. I loved your story and your revelation in the laundry room, and how you kind of got that brand. So
Yeah,
thank
that
you.
was a true story. It was a true moment, but I think we can all identify it at some point. We have all had that moment in life where we've just decided there's something missing. I need more, and I need to find that to feel like the best in all areas of our life. And glad I found it, even if it was in my laundry room. So, oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for spending time with us today and helping folks gain confidence that there are advantages to building a social media business, and they can build their business through social media, and that creating their brand is so critical. So thank you so much. I know everyone will enjoy it.
thank you guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.